Okay guys, so now we're gonna have a look at searching for translations. So let's get into it. Now this is basically all it's gonna do is that I'm gonna put my cursor here and I'm gonna type something and it's gonna filter my little list here based on what I input. So what we're matching against are these translations here. It's not gonna touch anything like that. I've kind of checked out the actual project and that's pretty much what they do. Although they have this nice little feature where I can say hello, and if it says hello, it's actually going to highlight the thing that it matched on. It's not going to touch this stuff because I can say like hey, and that's pretty much, yeah, it's just going to match on these things. But we don't have to go that far. It's not all that important to us that the text is highlighted. So let's have a look at this very tiny change because it's a very small feature. So I added a onSearch function to my context and a filter. That's just going to hold a string of some sort. And I added it to my state, and then I created this onSearch. I pass and the filter, and I passed that into my app context. I added a type as well to the context because forgot about that. Wanted it to be typed, which is nice. And then that's pretty much on my onSearch where I set the filter to some value. And then basically what I do is that I've updated my search field here, and as you can see here, it's the same pattern as before. We pass in the context properties, and then we change this to be just a class, and then we export the higher order component that we will gain with the app context. And then we declare our onSearch, which is going to be added. Well, the input here is going to trigger it on every key up. So every time we type like let go off the key, it's going to do like it's going to start the filter. And onSearch just takes in the event. Typecast the target, which is going to be an HTML input element to an element, and then we call context onSearch with that value, which is, as we saw earlier, it's just going to set the value of this to the filter property in the state of the application context. And in our translations list, we simply added, well, we added a constructor and a function called filter translations. And yeah, that's about it. So now we've added a filter step to when we're actually rendering out the elements in this list, and that's going to do this thing here where we're going to pass in a translation, and we're going to, well, we're just going to check if we have a value in the filter. If we don't have a value, then nothing's in the input box, so we might as well just return true, which is going to return all of the elements. But if we do have a value set in the filter, we are going to create a regex or a regexp from that filter like this, and then we're going to do a sum on all the translations within each of the translations, like the text of the translation. And that basically means that we're going to iterate and find if any of these values return a truthy result set from iterating all over this list, we're going to return this element. That's going to return true basically. So what we're saying is go to the translation, get all of the text, all the translated text, and find out if there's anything that has a regex that matches, or a text that matches this regex. And if it does, we're simply going to return. And that means that, hey, we actually found something that is matching our search query. And that's pretty much like, it's a very simple search. We don't have to make it all that fancy because all we really want is to kind of sort of be able to filter the list based on some simple text. And that's pretty much it. So we are going to call this done for now. In the future, we might want to consider pagination and doing this server side, because one of the limitations with our application here is that generally you're going to have quite a lot of translations, like a lot, and loading them all into one single query on the page might delay the actual query. It might take a while to load all these translations and then filter and all that good stuff. So we may experience performance issues, but since this is kind of a toy example, we don't really have to cater for that. But pagination would be something that we should consider if we find that this application becomes very unperformant if and when it was going to be used in a live situation. Now it's not going to be used in a live situation, but if it had been, we would have validated this during the project's lifecycle, basically. But that's it for now. So we're going to move that to done, and next we are going to support updating a translation's metadata. So that's coming up next.